Hi everyone, welcome to our second strat. I'm your host Gülsah and my husband Gonzalo. As you know, we are the founders of locus. And today we are going to talk about change.
Very, very important subject, change. And actually, the main reason why people come to us to see us,
Yes.
because they want to change something in their lives. They want to leave behind situations. But change is uncomfortable, and change is sometimes harder than what we expect, and not always for the reasons we expect. What do I mean by that? When everyone is talking about change, the stages of change, how you need to have basically, to decide to change, you need to know what, you need to know why, and why now. Because if not, people will tend to push it back. However, one dimension that is often neglected is environment. The environment has an outside effect on your ability to change. Just to give an example, everyone is talking about, in the media, we heard a lot about echo chambers. Yes. Basically, these groups of people that they repeat to each other what they believe, and then they end up believing things like the earth is flat.
And how does these echo chambers affecting in people's belief system?
These echo chambers, actually, they reinforce their beliefs. People look for groups that hold similar beliefs, and this reinforces the beliefs of the people. So it's very, very difficult to implement profound, meaningful change when your environment is reinforcing what your current situation. So there is a quote from a philosopher, a Polish-American philosopher, Albert Korzybski. Probably you heard it because you studied NLP, and NLP, we talk about it, Erickson was talking about it. This quote says that the map is not the territory. People confuse both things. Of course that, the reality of a situation matters. If certain social environments and situations do not allow you to have proper nutrition, proper rest, because you have to live very far outside the city to be able to afford housing, and then you have to go to the other end of the city to work 3 hours, 3 hours work. So obviously that's reality. You cannot argue with that reality. Lack of exercise, obviously, then, but nutrition, lack of exercise, lack of sleep, all those things will come and affect your ability to perform, your ability to change. That being said, perception matters as much or more. It is quite interesting. There is a very interesting study I read lately by Mitchell Callan and a group of other psychologists that talks about personal relative deprivation. You will, before you ask me what is that, because it's a very technical term. Personal relative deprivation is your perception. It's not the real, it's your perception. Again, the map is not the territory. It's your perception of how well you are doing or how bad you are doing compared to your peers, compared to the people around you. Because we don't operate on a vacuum. We're always looking for external references in our lives. So this PRD, this personal relative deprivation, tries to measure your perception of how much better off the others are doing. And in this paper, which is it's very interesting, this paper, because they did it within groups, within people, without groups, without people. They did it across cultures. Callan led a team of researchers in India, China, the States, Europe, I think. Also, there's somebody in Europe there, if I don't misremember. And they show there that your perception of how badly off you are compared to other people will affect your locus of control. Locus of control is something we talk a lot about in our trainings, as you know.
Yes.
Because it's the foundation of agency.
It's our main subject, actually.
It's pretty much our spiel, yes. So, locus of control, for those of you that do not know what it is, again, it's your belief of where the causes of the things that happen to you are. And you can have two kinds of locus, two positions of locus of control. You can have it an internal, so I'm a master of my own destiny. My actions matter. Or you can have an external locus of control. And an external locus of control, the issue that you will have there is that then you start believing that things don't matter. Nothing is within your control. So you fall into victimhood.
Yeah.
And if you don't try, for sure, you're not going to achieve. The first step in getting anything pretty much in life is try. So if you cross off the menu that first step, you are just at the mercy of the winds and the waves.
Yep. And if you don't try, you are stuck.
You're stuck, yes, and the psychological, I have a bit of an acceptance and commitment therapy vein in me, and it's interesting that the mechanism a bit behind this. What happens is people become fused with this thought, so they accept this thought as part of them. Nothing I do matters. Because, of course, the locus of control is external. They believe that the others around them are doing better off. Yes. They feel that this is an unjust situation. They explain it by saying it's a completely outside force that is acting on me. I have nothing, I cannot do anything about it. Nothing I do matters. This is all I can reach. This is all I can get. That kind of speech that we heard in the past from people. Yeah. And they become fused with this thought. So they take it as truth. They take it as part of themselves. And then, of course, if you believe that, it's an immutable truth, that even attempting change becomes pointless. Even the idea of changing will generate psychological pain, will create distress. Because want to change. I'm not happy with the situation, but if I try to change, I will fail because it's not in my control.
I'm a failure.
I'm a failure. So that creates a lot of mental pain and anguish. How people manage this pain?
Yeah.
By experiential avoidance. They avoid the experience that causes this pain. How do we avoid this pain about change? By not touching anything even related to change with a stick. Staying as far away from it as possible. But then this creates a host of problems because your behavioral repertoire gets smaller and smaller. You remember this text I shared with you once about Paris?
Yes.
Where first you avoid Paris, but then you avoid the hills from where you can see Paris, because your worst fear is in Paris. Then it's, well, maybe France, let's avoid France just in case to be sure. Then let's avoid Europe. And then let's avoid the world, let's avoid life, because Paris is somewhere there and it's scary.
But actually, I need to start from Paris first.
Yes, that's according to this poem, that's the best advice a true friend can give you. A true friend can give you, the only best advice that a true friend can give you is start by Paris. But that's not what people do. And that's exactly what we're talking about here, experiential avoidance. You avoid the situations, no committed action. You don't take actions, you don't commit. Say, okay, yes, this is hard. Nevertheless, it's in accordance to my values, so I will just push through this discomfort and then start trying to change something in my situation. And there is a very interesting paper I was reading now about from Wendy Woods, Mazar, and David Neal, how the more you fall into experiential avoidance, the more you will fall into habits that will depend on the context of the situation. So the more you will end up surrendering your agency.
Mm.
And you end up with habits that are completely automatic. We could draw a parallel there with Kahneman systems 1 thinking and system 2 thinking.
No.
No? You fall in this automatic mode.
System 1.
Yes, of course, there is a parallel there, even though it's not correct to talk about habits in system 1, but there is a clear parallel between both models. For example, one thing that I have a couple of phrases that they said. Look, once formed, habits are directly brought to mind by context cues, without the need for recruiting the goal that may have motivated initial learning. So once you create these habits, just cues in your environment will trigger them. So that means you do not need this whole learning process to trigger the habit. Which again, it can be useful for some things when they are adaptive habits, but when they are maladaptive habits, it makes it a lot harder to break this because it's an automatism. It just happens without any effort and without any wish to go in that direction. No, it just happens. One point that I also found interesting that they write is, and this touches why also it's hard to break these habits. When we go a bit further on the paper, but I think it's page 7, time limits, stress, and fatigue reduce people's capacity and motivation for deliberate goal pursuit, but leave habit memories intact. So, of course, time limits, what we were talking, if you are driving, you have to do 3 hours commute in each direction, you have a time limit. Stress goes without saying. Fatigue, we're talking about that also. All these play against you and reinforce these habits by not changing them, and by practicing over and over again, you reinforce them. Because these things hamper change, but do not disturb in the slightest bit habit memory. That's what it says. I'm just paraphrasing. So, and it's sad that the devastating consequences that all this has, even on a physiological level. Let's not even say on psychological level, but physiological even.
So what happens? Those people that are stuck.
Those people that are stuck, usually they stay stuck, unfortunately. Their environment, as we are saying, is not helping them change. Is a big factor that stops them from changing. Their environment is their circumstances, but it's also the people they associate with. Obviously. And physiologically, it's not at all, my subject of expertise, but there is quite a host of very interesting research that goes to show that your central nervous system interprets all this stress, this constant stress caused by your subjective social status. So again, it's what you perceive, not subjective. It becomes a threat. It's easy as a threat, the same that our ancestors were saying, seeing a saber-toothed tiger or a bear, the same, the body reacts in the same way. Only that when this lasts long, it modifies how your genes express. So we're not talking just about the hormones, the stress hormones like cortisol and so on, which we know are not good for you on the long term. We are also talking about how your genetic code expresses itself at the core of your cells. There is a mechanism, for example, what it's called the conserved transcription response to adversity, CTRA, repetition, which actually it upregulates, so it activates more genes that express pro-inflammatory factors. So when this is all going over and over and over again over a long period of time, we no longer talk about inflammation. We talk about inflammaging. Inflammaging is a portmanteau word, actually, that is combining inflammation and damage. Because this inflammation damages you. Yeah. How does it damage you? This stress, besides the inflammation that damages your heart, for example, causes other changes in your genes. So you will have genes methylated that are associated with epigenetic aging. There is a very good study I was reading about women, actually, and they studied white women and black women, two groups of women. They measured their genetic age with a method that is called green age. And they noticed that the ones that perceived their, again, subjective social status as lower, they were aging a lot faster. Another very interesting paper from some psychiatrists showed that people under this kind of stressors, they express, again, epigenetics, they methylate, and they express certain genes different, notably, for example, the NR3C1 gene, which completely dysregulates the hypothalamic pituitary axis, the HPA axis, which is what regulates your stress response. And the result is that these people have much higher incidences of major depressive disorder, of PTSD, of bipolar disorder, and even of schizophrenia.
One.
So yes, you see how
Important.
how important and damaging is your environment, because we're talking about a subjective perception, which is dictated by your perception, of course, but also is dictated by your environment. So the question that comes to mind then is, do you want to change? Okay. Maybe you also need to think about changing your environment, changing the people you associate with. You know, my mother, in all her wisdom, she was always telling me, tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. It's, old wives sort of wisdom, but we see today that there is real science backing that assertion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
people need to change the environment. Start
change the
changing
environment, but
environment if it's not helping them.
yeah, exactly. And maybe there you can explain a bit why it's a lot harder than what it looks.
Yeah, and that can be explained by attachment theory. Because we are mammals, and we operate on attachment. So mammals are biologically wired to stay close to their environment.
Yes, to their groups, yes.
And, your nervous system actually does not care if that group or mentor is healthy. It only cares that they are familiar, actually.
So it's related to predictability.
Yes, but predictability can be, it is, even if it's dangerous, it is safe. Because you can guess, but if you change something, if you change your environment, you don't know what is waiting for you. That's why people are also a bit stepping back. So they are afraid of change because if not, they are going to go out of their comfort zone.
Yeah, they lose the ability to predict what is coming.
Yes. Exactly. And if I relate this to EFIT, as you know, I am working on EFIT, emotional focus individual therapy, that I'm trying to specialize on that for the moment with my studies. Dr. Sue Johnson.
The Dr. Sue Johnson.
Yeah, exactly. The founder of actually this concept. And she explained this perfectly. And this metaphor, it touches me, it works with me very well because she's talking about music.
Yeah, that's it.
When you know with music, so she says that emotion is the music of your internal dance. Usually, most people think that actually my environment is the music. Actually, no, the music is your internal attachment panic.
Yeah, but when people cognitively fuse
Yes.
with their thoughts, both things can get mixed up.
Yes, exactly. And the dance is your reaction to it. So if you need to start first actually changing this music. Because let's say that today you move to New York or you change your job, you change your environment. But if you don't change the music first, you will again find, maybe the same type of people. You will end up in the same type of environment. So we need to start changing first our music.
I would argue both, because it's very hard to change your music if your whole environment is repeating, like an echo chamber,
Yes.
a certain narrative.
Mm-hmm.
If your environment is in a narrative of defeat, it's a defeatist narrative, of powerlessness,
Yeah.
and so on, it's probably very hard to change internally when all you are hearing is.
Yes, exactly. But, also I would say that, for example, when I do this changing music with the clients that I'm working with, actually we are trying to find what is causing me in my life that this music is playing doesn't match with me. It's a different melody actually that is playing on the background, but I need a different music. So we are trying to find this emotion first. And yes, it's not easy because it's not easy to face. Again, it's not easy to change it because already it's in your comfort zone. But once you find that what is causing this, and then the rest is coming. Once you accept that, yes, I have this, and because of this, and then the rest is coming. But of course, I agree that if you are also, on the other hand, if you are all the time in the same environment and you're trying to change the music, that is also hard.
It's hard to play Mozart if you're in a heavy metal environment. It's complicated.
Yes.
Doesn't help.
Yes. But I think today I'm sure that some people, after watching this, some people will maybe start questioning themselves that if it is about, for somebody that wants to do the studies for the rest of their lives and everything, or want to change a partner, is it maybe about changing the environment? So maybe I'm sure some people will start questioning themselves.
Maybe they also should question what they hear from their environment.
Yes.
And for that, I invite you to Google the 3 filters. It's a very good method to try to understand the things that you're being told. Of course, it's supposed to be what you say, but you can use it about what you're being told.
Yeah.
And more often than not, it fails what you're being told in these echo chambers. It fails the first filter. Is it true? It's not. You believe it is true. The group believes it is true. It is the paradigm of the group.
Yeah.
But it's not the truth. And in that space is where your agency for change lives.
Socrates Three Filters.
Exactly, the Socratic filters.
Yeah.
Very important to know a bit of philosophy.
It helps.
The world looks different. Anything else you wish to add as a parting thought to our viewers, so we don't kidnap them for the whole evening or day or whenever you're watching this video?
No, I think thanks a lot. Well,
Thank you for this interesting exchange.
and we will continue later with another interesting subject.
Absolutely.
Thank you and have a good one. Bye.